Alright, we are back for another one. This is war number 8. In real time, as I'm recording this this voiceover, we are in the middle of war 11, so I'm pretty far behind. But here you guys can see that we're still in tier 2 at the time of this this war, and we do end up winning this war. So this is our last war in tier 2. We finally, after I'm pretty sure, we moved up to tier 1. With this victory here. I think the tier 1 cutoff is right around 3120. But anyway, alright, let's get into it here. They banned Kingpin and my two strongest war attackers, which would be Apocalypse and CGR. So, you know, that's a bummer. When I see that, I realize that, okay, I'm probably going to do a lot of Omega Sentinel stuff this war. And as it turns out, that was the case. So, okay. Over here, I think that I took this path. I can't remember. But when I see these with the global, Omega Sentinel, you know, to me just stands out as an option that takes care of both of these fights. You know, this is masochism over time, but with guidance, you know, you can land clean parries, and with her heal block debuff, you know, you just trigger masochism one time by applying a debuff, and then you can you know, get your heal block debuff to permanently stick, and then you can just do light ending combos to keep that debuff you know, refreshed really for the rest of the fight. So she's a pretty good solution for both of these fights. Pretty sure I took these. Here, you know, I mean, you could also use like an Archangel with guidance. Archangel with, if he's awakened, as long as he's got a neurotoxin on the defender, they cannot heal. So he's a good option for sick and tired, you know, in matchups that he can take. But over here, I can't remember who we sent, but yeah. So Archangel is a good option here as well. And then I think we used Archangel here, and then yeah, we have had a few people, I think, take this with Tigra this season. Archangel seemed to work really well, though. Tigra is great here if you guys have a battle group that utilizes Tigra. Tigra's very good here. She can also take this fight. I mean, you just basically neutralize. Both of these defenders don't start with an armor up buff, so as long as you get them neutralized before you hit them, they won't be able to proc those armors. So Tigra would be great here, but I'm pretty sure that we just went the ultra safe route and sent in a Hulkling. I just can't remember, but yeah, Hulkling, Gallon, and you know, even Corvus works for these fights. We might have actually done Corvus just to pick up this mission here. But anyway, all right, moving on to the middle. Whoop, wrong way, sir. Moving on to the middle section here. All right, over here, this is a tough path. Over here, I'm pretty sure we just. I mean, all right, I'll just do what I think when I see these fights instead of trying to recall exactly what I sent. But you know, Torch is a really strong option here. For this entire path, I can't remember which of these nodes, or maybe both of them, but you're going to get debuffs on you for sure on both of them. And one of these nodes at least has insult to injury. So I'm pretty sure it's this one. So if you have multiple debuffs on you, they're going to reduce your defensive ability accuracy, aka your ability to parry. Now, what's interesting about this is I'm pretty sure that this node has increased defensive ability accuracy for the defender by 100%, but Longshot naturally has plus 300% ability accuracy, and then this fight has that insult to injury, so if you get multiple debuffs on you, you won't be able to parry, but you can't really parry Annihilus anyway if he has his control rod active, or his cosmic rod, I don't know, something like that. His rod, if his rod is stiff, then you can't parry him anyway. So to me, I think you probably switch these two defender placements. But anyway, Torch is great here. Really, I mean, Magneto, Doctor Doom. You can use really any hero champ with guidance, like a Shang-Chi would be great with guidance. You can use a Mole Man, just utilize his counterpunch to get your in since you can't lean clean parries there. You could do guidance and CGR. You have a lot of options for this. Down here, just go the safe route. You're safest using just an Incinerate Immune in case the worst case scenario happens. He throws off an SP2 while he's got Pure of Heart up. Then you won't have to take all that basically that instant death from his Incinerates. So Red Hulk, Human Torch, and I'm pretty sure on this node, if it has any kind of insult to injury mechanic, just play it stun immune, super easy. Okay, over here, I know that Tigra is a very good option here. This is good placement for Cersei for sure. I think Cersei is better here because of debuff immunity on knockdown. Here, she's not debuff immune when you knock her down. So we sent a Tigra here though. And then this, I think that we just sent our Kitty guy up this this path here. He took this fight with Kitty. I wouldn't necessarily say Kitty is the best option here, but the thing on this node, it's really just manage his rock stacks, get to your SP3, knock him down, and then you're relying on your SP3 damage. That's basically the entire fight. So, Kitty is going to work here. You throw your SP3, you're going to do the SP3 damage, and then just let him rush into you while you're phased. He'll, damage himself by hitting into your phase, and then obviously we sent Kitty up here, but you can also do, like, Omega Red would be a really good option here. You can't do like Archangel here because of debuff immunity on knockdown. With guidance though, you can still parry him here. So you can even use like a Dr. Doom, I don't know, whatever. And then moving along to the right island. Okay, so here, like when I see these two placed here, there are a couple things that come to mind. The first thing is Archangel with White Magneto. You just slap White Magneto guidance on both of these fights. You don't even need it on this one with Archangel, actually. But, yeah, you'd slap guidance on this one. And, this one's unawakened, so this is actually better placement unawakened than if he was awakened. If he was awakened, he would trigger Conflictor right at the start of the fight, allowing you to land clean parries. And then with poisons on himself, Archangel makes it like a 15-second fight, but Archangel is still going to work really well here, especially once he throws that first SP1. You are good to go. Archangel's a great option here, but you can also do like Kitty for this fight. You can do like a Vision AOU or OGV for this fight. You can do kind of any poison immune here if they don't do a bunch of debuff damage. You can even use like a Shang-Chi here. You would just want to bait his SP1s, make sure that you keep refreshing your cleanse, and don't hit him with the slow Wushu Strike or the stun one. You just want to use guidance and just get your passive stun. So plenty of options here. Just just bring in a poison immune or somebody like Archangel that can use his kit against him. Here, I see this and I think Kitty, but Dr. Doom also works. Sim Supreme works. KiLLEr works. Basically, any typical Nova counters are going to be fine here. Human Torch, Archangel, kind of the same thing. I mean, you can stun her here, so you don't really have anything to worry about with Chavez. And then over here, I think that CGR is normally who I would send for a fight like this, and we definitely like CGR for Void on Hazard Shift. But with him banned, what we ended up doing, we sent a Shang-Chi to all three of these fights. And we just made sure that the person had guidance on this one because, as you guys know, I'm sure, Arcus' SIG ability is Tenacity, so he can fail your parry. He can essentially purify it instantly due to his SIG ability. So just to prevent that, the risk of assuming a parry and getting hit, Shang-Chi with guidance, and it's just parry, medium, light, medium, heavy, and that's it. I mean, the entire fight up to your SP2, same thing here. All right, and then moving on. All right, so here, so this is the Hazard Shift, Shock, and Incinerate. I'm pretty sure that we've been using Nebula for this, but, I mean, you can use, like, a Poison Immune with the Shock Resist as well. That's totally fine. Up here, I'm pretty sure I can't remember if we used Kitty or Omega Red, but you can also use Archangel. You would just want to have guidance to make sure that all of your parries land, and once you get him narrowed up, he's going to be done. Over here, since we've got him in the frame, this is Hazard Shift, Shock, and Bleed. Magneto is a really good option here. Obviously, Magneto is 90% shock and bleed resistant, and that's a metal defender. So that's a good option. You would just have to worry about the armor breaks because of Conflictor if you were using Magneto here, but you can also use like Thing. Let's see here. You could use Hulkling would be a good option here. He's not bleed immune, but he is shock immune, and he's immune to power drain, so he wouldn't get degened by Warlock. So he's definitely an option, especially if you can fit him someplace on the team over here, or if you're using a Hulkling here. He makes this matchup fairly simple. You just got to play around that bleed phase. All right, let's just move up to the left island here. Okay. We sent our Gallon guy to this, I am pretty certain. This is good placement. I really like this placement, but yeah, Gallon just takes care of it. He's immune to Buffet, and you can just go to your SP3 to instigate Harvest and let the Harvest expire to do all that crazy damage. He'll die, and then obviously Gallon is like the best matchup in the game for this fight here. He's Buffet immune, and you know, he just completely nukes Kitty Pryde. And then I'm pretty sure that for these two fights, we used Omega Sentinel. I think actually the guy that has Gallon, you know, he just went up this path. For Sauron, because he does build up those prowesses, you know, I think the best matchup is always going to be Nimrod, unless there's a node or a global or something that affects Sauron that, you know, makes Nimrod not a good option. But Sauron is honestly a pretty easy defender as long as you can dex his SP1. That's basically the key to a Sauron fight. If you can fully dex his SP1, which to me feels like a pretty easy one. It's kind of like Iron Man, like OG Iron Man's beam. Pretty straightforward. If you can dex that, you can basically fight Sauron. Now, what's interesting about this placement is he will go unblockable once he has gotten 10 regen effects throughout the fight. So just something to keep in mind. But with Omega Sentinel, you just apply the heal block, bait and dex the SP1s, and you're all set. Up here, obviously, Omega Sentinel can apply that heal block to bypass Conduit, and she's immune to ability accuracy reduction against mutants, so you don't have to worry about her fighting Magneto. All right, and then over here, I think, so CGR is, like, again, perfect for these fights here, but with him banned, I think we just use Null. Null is a sick and tired attacker, and we've actually found quite a bit of use for him this season, specifically in matchups like Guardian, Darkhawk, you know, stuff like that. So he's a really good option for these two fights, and I'm almost certain that's what we went with. One other thing to note, too, you guys saw an empty path. Path 6 in Section 1 was just empty. And then here we've got an empty path. I think that most planners or defense organizers or officers understand this, but every once in a while I see this, and I really think it's a bad idea. You know, I think that I certainly would recommend always placing at least one defender on every single path, because part of the defensive strategy game, you know, the game that you're playing with the opponent is just trying to make planning for your defense annoying. And the more people that you can involve, or the more people that the opponent has to assign fights to, especially with the maximum number of, you know, the more counters that you can draw out of them with your placements, the better, because then you've got people trying to coordinate. Sometimes they make concessions with lesser matchups. So anyway, in general, as a rule of thumb, I really think it's a bad idea to leave paths empty. It just makes planning way, way easier, and it gives the opponent just a lot more flexibility. And really, the higher you get in Alliance War, you know, all you can really ask for is just getting a couple deaths in each battle group, and sometimes those deaths happen because you've got to force a matchup, or you've got to, you know, send somebody down a path that, you know, just the inconvenience factor. So just a little tidbit there. All right, now over here, I think we sent Iron Doom here, or actually maybe Omega Sentinel. Shit, did I take? I think I took this path actually. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I took this with Omega Sentinel. She's immune to Nullify, so she is unaffected by Power Snack. Over here, I mean, with CGR banned, I think I took this path too, but All right, so I think that I brought Torch, and if I'm guessing, I would say that I used Human Torch with Flame On for this because he is Incinerate immune with an armor buff, and then Flame On or no Flame On here. I might have used Scorpion for both of these fights, so Scorpion's another good option. I can't remember. Over here, CGR can take care of both of these fights, especially with the with a global up, but since he is banned, I'm pretty sure what we did was, God, I can't remember, maybe Archangel here, and then Doom definitely is an option for Terrax here. Because Terrax is shock immune, and the shock debuff is the first debuff that is auto-applied from the global for Conduit, you don't have to worry about the shock debuff knocking him down. However, he'll still regen a little bit of your energy hits since all of Doom's hits are energy. It's just less than if you were shocking an opponent with Conduit. And then the game plan here with Dr. Doom is just to get to your SP3 and let your SP3 do all the damage. But obviously immune to armor breaks, so you don't have to worry about that debuff. He should never go unblockable in a fight against Dr. Doom. It'll just take a little bit longer because he's regenning a little bit every time you hit him with your energy hits, but Conduit does not apply to SP3s. Okay, and then over here, definitely sent Kitty to these fights, and I think that we had Kitty with the Tiger Synergy take this fight as well. Just go unblockable, and then you can smash. All right, moving along. Okay, over here, anytime, I've said this previously, but anytime I see a Domino, I like to send a Nimrod. Now this fight, this node does have Spite, and Nimrod obviously stacks up a bunch of armor buffs. So it's good placement for Domino. I'm pretty sure I still sent a Nimrod. I still think that he's the best option. Just use an Invuln if you are at all worried about Spite. And honestly, it's just get to your SP3. Once you land your SP3, the fight's going to be over, so not really a whole lot of risk there. Up here, CGR it would be my go-to for sure. But you can also use like Archangel, you can use Omega Sentinel, you can use Tigra even is a really good option for Bishop, and in general, she's a decent option for Aspect of Evolution. Over here, we definitely sent Omega Sentinel, who is like a perfect counter for this. I really don't like placing Storm on this path anymore with the existence of Omega Sentinel because she can stack up so many armors. She's just going to, keep her power super high, and she just completely eliminates everything that makes Storm dangerous. And then over here, I think that we sent a Tiger. Tiger is just an awesome option for Omega Sentinel. Any neutralized champ can just prevent her armor buffs. But you can also use like Nebula, obviously just shut her down completely because she is a robot. And then over here, Thing, I think is definitely the go-to matchup for any kind of tough mystics or like a Magneto on this path. He's double immune, of course. Thing can easily, anybody can take this, frankly. But Nebula can take this. She's double immune. Terrax is double immune. He could take this if you've got a Terrax. Icarus is Incinerate immune. Hulkling is shock immune. If you send a Hulkling over to this fight. So you've got plenty of options, but Thing would be the super easy solution here. All right, and then Mini Island, we're almost done. Mini Island, we actually got a little bit to talk about up here. Okay, so over here we used, I believe, a Human Torch since CGR is banned, but typically I like to just send CGR with an invulnerability boost. We used Human Torch for this fight, but you can also use Kitty. The only thing you need to worry about with Rintra is, hey, you need to keep this guy under 10 mystical charges. He has a chance to gain mystical charges every time you hit him and every time he hits you. And you can remove 5 mystical charges by knocking him down. So if you're doing the Kitty stuff, just make sure that somewhere you weave in a heavy or an SP1 or whatever you need to do to knock him down to keep his mystical charges under 10. Tiger is the easy solution here. You can also use Rintra, who is a neutralized champ. You can use Wiccan, who's a great option for almost any cosmic champ. You just don't want to use him against Conduit because he does energy damage and inflicts incinerates. But you can also use Mojo is just kind of a fun pick for this fight. Just just let him kill himself from degen, and then if if you're really struggling for counters for this fight, Quake is obviously another great option when she's not banned. You know, somebody like Mordo is a deep cut that can do a lot of damage here. Just throw your SP2, get that Soul Barb debuff on him, and he will pretty much eliminate himself. All right, over here, I think that I took this with a Mega Sentinel just kind of to get revenge on Kitty after the previous war where I died to her with Mega Sentinel. I think in general, you know, a matchup like a Guardian even is going to just be maybe a little safer because he doesn't rely on debuffs. Obviously, he's going to inflict a shock debuff after SP3 and when he's throwing his SP2, but yeah, I don't know. I ended up using Omega Sentinel here. You can also use, like, you know, Torch with Flame on if you want to. Up here, we use Scorpion, and I'm pretty sure that I took this fight. And then over here, you can do Archangel. Just keep in mind that this node does have whatever the Disorient node is. I can't remember what it's called, but if you parry, you'll get a Disorient on you, so your parries might not stick, so just be aware of that. But I think that we just use Mole Man or Shang-Chi, make that fight super easy. Over here, Omega Red is like the obvious answer. You can also do like a Kitty Pride. You can even do Human Torch with Flame on. Just play it fully stun immune. So I don't know. I mean, just kind of whatever your standard Korg. Doom, I think, is actually who we used here. Doom is a really good option too. He's shock immune, but you know, that's not a big deal. Just play it stun immune, and that's the entire fight. You just play it stun immune, you won't get any power. All right, and then up here. So I know that this has already been kind of a long scouting phase for this video, but okay. So last war video, I talked about how my brain sometimes I have a hard time looking at things in like a kind of like a subjective type of way. I don't even know how to describe it or what the proper word is, but sometimes I look at something and things in my mind kind of feel so black and white, like best matchup or better matchup versus a good matchup, stuff like that, that sometimes I overlook the human element. And typically, I do think that usually that is an advantage, because I think that the human element can really cloud your judgment sometimes, but the same can happen in reverse. And last war I detailed, if you guys didn't watch that video, go watch it, or at least, you know, skip ahead to the fight that I died at. I took a fight with the quote-unquote better matchup on paper, even though it was with a champ that I was personally less comfortable with, and it was a fight that I had taken with a different champ that I was more comfortable with, that I had on my team at the time. And it was one of those cases where I just, in my head, I was like, well, this is the better matchup, so this is obviously what I'm going to use. And I didn't take into consideration the human element, and it was a problem. It actually was worse. I should have taken in the human element there, and had I considered the human element, it would have been like, okay, well, I've done this fight with a different champ. I'm more comfortable with this other champ. Let me just use this other champ, even if it's not the quote-unquote best matchup for this fight. So same thing is going to happen in this war with Dr. Doom. All right, going into this war, we had seen 4 Doom bosses to this point in the season. And since then, we've seen Doom bosses, I think, every war. But up until this point, across all 3 battle groups, we had only seen 4 Doom bosses, and we had sent a Human Torch to each of those fights. And as an alliance, we were 4 for 4. We had 4 solos on those 4 fights. But I looked at those fights, and some of the best players in the alliance were taking those fights, playing perfectly, and coming out of that fight with basically between 50 and 60% health, just taking a ton of block damage with an absolute optimal team, including like Guardian synergy for the 25% extra block proficiency. So I was looking at that and I'm like, okay, we're 4 for 4, which is great. Torch it's a very simple fight against Dr. Doom, right? You just literally are just doing medium, light, medium the entire fight, baiting his SP1s the entire fight. So it's a very simple fight, but I look at it and I'm thinking, that's pretty risky though, because all 4 of these fights so far have been played pretty perfectly, and they lost 50% health. So there's got to be a better solution. That can't be the best solution. And a buddy from another Tier 1 alliance sent me over a video of somebody in their battle group using Omega Sentinel for Dr. Doom boss. And I saw the video. It was perfect. I think that person soloed the fight with Omega Sentinel and finished at about 90% health. So I look at that, somebody with kind of like the way that my brain works, I look at that and I'm thinking, okay, we've got an R4 Omega Sentinel in my battle group. We don't have an R4 Torch in my battle group. She's a lot tankier than Torch. With her armor, she gets pretty heavy energy resistance depending on her sig level, so that's good. She's immune to Nullify, so if you miss a dex on Doom's SP1, he won't nullify and shock you. You can still get shocked by Dr. Doom if he hits you with a medium, but he can't nullify your SP1, so you have a lot more leeway to make some screw-ups dexing his SP1. And I'm looking at those things and I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of a no-brainer. This seems like a safer matchup. You've got a tankier attacker, you're immune to Nullify, you've got an extra rank on the attacker versus what we would have available if we were sending another Torch. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and do Omega Sentinel. I'll just copy the solo that my buddy sent me, and yeah, it'll be perfect. And the issue is, I'm the only person with an Omega Sentinel that's at rank 4 in this battle group, or I was at the time of this war. So I'm like, all right, well, I've got to take it, but it's going to be super easy. We even brought in a War Machine for him to place the Armory boosts on the fight, which just basically just makes Omega Sentinel even tankier and gives her extra attack. So she's got 15% extra attack from the War Machine Armory boost. She's got 15% extra attack from Guidance. She's got additional energy resistance and physical resistance from the Armory boost, and because of her sig level, all this stuff. So I'm like, all right, this is perfect, man. I'm going to crush this. It's going to be sick. And you'll have to see how that goes. We'll get to it. But, all right, we are finally joining. Actually, let's just skip ahead. All right, so here's my team. We've got Omega Sentinel, White Magneto, and Rank 4 Scorpion. All right. This first fight, I was back up in Section 1. My first fight is going to be this Apocalypse on Power Snack. We're going to skip ahead through this stuff. All right, and honestly, guys, I'm just going to skip ahead through this as well, because it's a Power Snack Apocalypse, aka it's just an Apocalypse duel. The only thing I have to worry about in this fight is this Power Sting. So anytime he fills a bar of power, I'm going to get a Power Sting debuff that lasts for 6 seconds. If I were to throw a special attack while I have this debuff active, I'm going to take a little bit of damage, but it's not much regardless. All right, so we're just going to go through this fight. You guys can see how super easy this is. There, SP2, boom, 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 he's dead. All right, oh my. Okay, so I do end up taking this path, and we're going to use Scorpion for both of these fights. All right, now, Iron Doom is shock immune with his armor up buff, which he starts the fight with, and I have no way to armor break him. So what I need to do here is I need to inflict, or I need to do either, I can not select a pre-fight and just do the Poison Sting, or I can do the Rupture Sting. I just can't do the Shock Sting because he's immune. All right, so I can't remember what I do. All right, so I'm going to do the Rupture Sting. It doesn't really matter. I think the reason I did that is because I'm running Suicides, and Rupture Sting gives me poison immunity. But same deal here. Basically, we just want to throw our SP1 to taunt him. If he throws a special while if he throws an SP1, he's going to activate the aura of whatever it is, or his aura. And his special attacks will be passively unblockable while he has the aura up. So I want to not have him throw his SP1. He is passively unblockable because he has the aura up. But with Scorpion, because he's taunted and because my Scorpion is awakened, I can just block those. So if you're not using Scorpion, just make sure that you're basically pushing him to his SP2. Alright, this part is annoying. From his SIG, he gets this little regen, and he's just killing my block. It's not really a big deal, but again, just kind of annoying. You also can't parry his mediums unless you're using like an Angela or Guardian or something. Alright, so, mostly pretty straightforward and easy there. Now we've got Wiccan. Yeah, let's definitely use that refill, Sarah. And the ideal matchup for Wiccan is going to be like a Human Torch with Flame On, or a Red Hulk, somebody that's immune to Incinerate, but, Scorpion's totally fine here. And it was just a matter of I wanted the Scorpion on War Attack for the mcoc on node 54, which I'm going to end up taking. And Scorpion, as long as he's awakened, is really, really good for this path. Regardless of who's on it, for the most part, unless it's somebody like a Mole Man or Kingpin or something. Alright, so we're just building up our stings here, and we're going to throw the SP1. We're going to bait out his SP1. Now every hit that we block is going to give him a prowess. If he gets to 3, his specials will be unblockable. Against Scorpion, obviously, it doesn't matter, and he ends up killing himself from the stings. All right, now jumping ahead to this Kitty Pryde, we've already got guidance on there, and we are going to select the heal block we're just going to leave it in Cowardice actually. So this is a 75% conflictor. So my first debuff application is going to trigger conflictor. Not really a big deal. And honestly, I mean, this is another fight that is a little bit probably too complicated for me for Omega Sentinel. There's multiple things going on in this fight, but it is a little bit easier, I think, than the fight that I took last war. Because of the intercepts and all that stuff. So I'm going to be able to keep track of my debuffs a little bit better. I still don't do a perfect job in this fight, but yeah, we're going to land the parry. There, Cowardice removes her prowess. Now we're going to apply it again. And now, as long as I keep that Cowardice active, she cannot gain prowess. She can't gain her passive prowess, I should say. There, it drops off because I'm just a fucking idiot. I'm going to bait out this SP2. I can outrange it, not a big deal. She is phased here, though, so I can't punish. Alright, Cowardice feeds Conflictor again. And what I need to do here is I just need to do medium, light, 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 light. I was too concerned about the Deja Vu Prowess node. I can also just parry and throw heavies. That would be good. But again, I'm just going to bait this SP2 out, and I'm just going to, have to reapply it, which, is not a huge deal. But I don't know. I just don't feel like I just don't feel comfortable with Omega Sentinel. She's just not my champ for war fights. And actually, after this war, I think I put her on our defense. So, just going to take her out of my hands here. All right, so this next fight is very simple and straightforward with Scorpion. There are a couple keys here. Number one, obviously, you want to not do 5-hit combos, because doing a 5-hit combo will give mcoc an additional hatred once he gets to 10. He will go unstoppable, unblockable on special attacks. You want to not let him throw his SP1, because that also gives him hatred. That gives him 2 hatred every time he throws an SP1. And he starts with 3 hatred, you guys can see up here. And then you just want to make sure that you're pushing him to his SP2 and throwing your SP1 before he gets up to his SP2. So what I'm doing is I am shortening my combos. I'm not going to worry about the medium or my debuff application as much. The thing that I'm most focused on is his power here. And I want to make sure that under no circumstances does he throw an SP1. So I'm going to block bait a lot in this fight. We're going to throw the SP1 again. That's going to inflict that taunt. Back up. Give him that feeling that he can just throw his SP2. And we're losing quite a bit of damage just from suicides. Wait, did I take off suicides actually? I don't know. I can't remember. No, I'm pretty sure that I did not. So we're losing quite a bit of damage from recoil. And then we're taking a little bit of block damage, but this is the last fight for Scorpion, so it doesn't really matter. And at this point, he's dead. So very, very easy here. All right, and now the fun fight of the war. It's this Dr. Doom. So here's the strategy for Dr. Doom with Omega Sentinel. You want to start with your heal block pre-fight. And essentially, what you want to do is medium, medium to apply heal block, and then you are just going to medium, light, 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 light to keep that heal block debuff refreshed for the entire fight, and you just want to go to your SP2 and you're just going to throw your SP2. And in the meantime, you want to bait and evade his SP1. So it seems very easy. You just want to make sure that he's throwing his SP1, make sure that you're dexing his SP1, make sure that you're finishing all of your combos with a light so that you can keep your heal block debuff refreshed because of conduit, and then you just want to keep recycling your SP3s, which will inflict incinerates or plasmas, and they'll keep stacking. I think you get 6 every time you throw an SP3. So the debuff damage from the SP3 is going to do all of the work in this fight, or most of the work in this fight. You guys can see here that I am max boosted. These are only going to affect my SP3s, but that's okay. Max boosted. I've got guidance on this fight. I've got 2 of the armory buffs boosts on this fight. You guys can see here from War Machine, which affects tech champs. So there you guys can see armory boost. All right, so I make a couple of huge mistakes tactically before I even got into this fight. You guys can see here I'm running full suicides. Now, I'm max boosted, as you guys saw. I have the extra attack armory boost from War Machine. I have guidance, so I've got a lot of extra attack, and most of my damage in this fight is going to come from my SP3 debuffs regardless. So, having suicides on is just lowering my health pool by a couple percentage points from Glass Cannon, from the 1 out of 3 in Glass Cannon, and then it's just taking away points that you can put in defensive masteries like energy resist, physical resist, stuff like that, block proficiency, stuff like that. So that was just a tactical mistake. It just makes me a little less beefy in this fight. You guys can see I'm just getting absolutely crushed because I haven't been able to build up armors yet. And I have the heal block debuff up over here. But yeah, I just couldn't... I couldn't keep it refreshed. So here you guys can see I barely get the last millisecond on it, so I'm going to reapply. And I just need him to throw his SP1. That's the key. Just throw your SP1. Now I can do a full light ending combo, which is great. Now I'm just going to bait this SP1, miss the dex. I'm going to throw my SP3, and you know, it's not looking good here, but at the same time, all I've got to do is just dex his SP1s, light enders to keep my heal block debuff up, and to keep these debuffs up. So there are my incinerates here. They're able to do quite a bit of damage, 3,700 per tick, which is awesome. There I'm going to reapply heal block, and I just need to dex the SP1. Alright, so everything is looking okay except that my incinerates fell off. So I fucked that up. And now I just got to get back to an SP3. I'm basically not going to do shit until I get back up to my SP3. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, alright, this is not that bad. All I have to do is keep nailing the SP1 dexes and I'll be okay. I'm going to reapply the heal block debuff just to get a new one there. And you guys, I mean, it just falls off so fast, I feel like. And if he's not throwing his special, it's tough to keep it refreshed. There I get hit by the SP1. That heal block is going to fall off. So I need to reapply it. Now I need to dex another SP1. Do a light ender to pause it. But before I throw my SP3, I need to bait out this SP1. Throw my SP3. This is going to reapply 6 incinerate debuffs. Oh, what a fucking nightmare, honestly. Alright, we're back in action there, and then fucking blah. Alright, so... for the rest of this war video, I am going to go back in with the Mega Sentinel. I'm going to finish it up. It goes a lot smoother the second time, as these things tend to do. But let's talk about what I've learned as a planner yet again. For the second war in a row, what I'm learning, I'm being forced to acknowledge the fact that what you see on paper, if you have an analytical kind of perspective on things, as I tend to do, what you see on paper does not mean that it's going to be the best in practice. And this Doom boss is a perfect example of, on paper, Omega Sentinel might be safer if everything goes right in the fight. But Torch is an easier fight. It's simpler. You don't have a bunch of bullshit that you have to manage in the fight. You're not dependent on whether or not Dr. Doom wants to throw his SP1s. If he's being super passive, your debuffs are going to fall off with Omega Sentinel. With Human Torch, it doesn't matter. All you're doing is you're just going to keep racking up your Nova Flames, let him throw his SP1, let him kill himself from the sting damage. And again, it's just like, I will say I'm happy that these things are happening this season, because next season when we're making our Masters push, we need to have these things figured out. Now, of course, Conduit will be gone next season. Spider-Man 2099 will be whitelisted next season, so he's going to be basically the best boss option unless it's a hard counter to him. So, these lessons aren't necessarily going to apply to this fight next season. But again, just kind of opening up my mind to, hey man, just because it looks like the best matchup on paper and it has maybe more more pros than cons, if you're a pros cons list type of guy, that doesn't mean that it's going to be the best in practice. You have to factor the matchup and the simplicity of the fight. The simplicity of the fight should really be a big factor in planning, because especially like a fight like this and just Omega Sentinel in general against like Conduit, I just feel like she's not so easy. I mean, she seems easy, but just the timing on your debuffs it feels like a really tight window. And so yeah. Anyway, so we went back to Human Torch after this war, and we knock on wood, we still have not died to a Doom boss with Human Torch. So just kind of a humbling war for me, and I was also pretty adamant with the other groups. I planned for another group. I assigned Omega Sentinel in that group. That person was not able to solo. And then, I suggested that we go to Omega Sentinel and BG3 as well, and that person did not solo. So basically, I feel like I cost our alliance 3 deaths this war, when really there was not really any need to change from Human Torch. I just convinced myself that it was a quote-unquote safer option to use Omega Sentinel. So anyway, we are back to Human Torch. I have seen new nations sometimes will use a rank 4 Yellow Jacket. At SIG 200, you just go to your SP3, it inflicts an indefinite power sting debuff. So every time Dr. Doom throws his SP1 for the rest of the fight, he is lopping off 40,000 health, which is pretty cool. But anyways, guys, that's the war video. Sorry, this one I think is the longest that I've ever done. No, not quite. But it's a long one. Leave a like and a comment if you want. And yeah, I mean, the big takeaway here, guys, is make sure that you're putting your players in the best position to succeed. A lot of times that's going to be to give them the most powerful matchup for a tough fight. Sometimes the best position to succeed is going to be a matchup that is 95% as good as the quote-unquote best matchup, but it's 50% easier to do. That's going to be a better matchup overall, so keep that in mind. But that's it. Appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.